Hey guys, meteorologist Chris Tomer here with us on the Snow Before You Go forecast, and be sure to hit the subscribe button so that you're notified as soon as these forecasts are published. All right, let me take you into water vapor and give you the lay of the land here. So over the next 7 days, really the big picture is going to be all about this atmospheric river setup. So on this satellite image, this animation, the oranges and reds are your drier air aloft. The moisture is going to be in the whites and the blues. We've got a pretty big storm system moving into the Pacific Northwest, and that will affect the Intermountain West as it kind of moves on through the 18th and the 19th. But behind it, this is what's all interesting. This is what is really going to play into this atmospheric river setup. Look how far back the jet stream reaches into the Pacific. All of that moisture is going to get moved to the west coast. There's a big trough that's going to set up, and that's going to set up a favorable jet for a lot of the Sierra, the high Cascades, and the volcanoes, and we're just going to nail a lot of those higher elevations across the west coast with some atmospheric river moisture. And what's the intensity? Well, it looks like moderate intensity. You can see it between the 20th and the 23rd. Moderate intensity atmospheric river surge. And this is a forecast for the San Francisco area all the way up to the Sierra. This is called integrated vapor transport, but you can see it. It is in the forecast, and that's why we're going to see such big totals down the road. All right, let me just talk about my bullet points here. And again, it all centers around this atmospheric river surge. First of the season between 1120 and 1123, really targeting the Sierra, the Cascades, the high volcanoes of the West Coast. And then there's going to be overrun. There's going to be blow off of precip into the interior states. A lot of Idaho, northwest Montana, the Tetons are going to get targeted. Eventually, some of that will move down to parts of the Wasatch and Colorado, but not as much. It's all going to be kind of north of there, and even up into BC, you're going to get plenty there. Here are my best dates or snow timeline here in the Wasatch for the Tetons, Colorado, Tahoe, and interior BC. Best odds of snowfall. So, for example, the Tahoe area. Afternoon, evening of the 17th through the 18th, light accumulations. 11:20 through 11:21, heavy accumulations, and then a heavy again, 11:22, 11:23. Those last two surges are part of that atmospheric river surge. In Colorado, afternoon of the 18th into the 19th, light accumulations. The 24th through the 26th could be moderate to heavy by the time some of that atmospheric river moisture reaches Colorado. So we've got a great span of time here. So as far as my spider chart, odds of best snow at the ski area is really reflecting what I was just talking about. More purple, higher on the web. That's going to be British Columbia. That's going to be Washington State, the Cascades, the volcanoes, all the way down through Oregon and a lot of the Sierra. And then favorable through parts of Idaho and northwest Montana and over the Tetons. All of those areas are going to be higher on the chart, better odds of new snow. Here's the jet forecast. So this is by close of business on, by the time we get into, let me just move this ahead into, say, Monday, end of day. You've got your storm system coming out of the Pacific Northwest, moving down into the interior states 18 and 19 right there. Then that moves away. And then it's all about what happens on the 20th through the 23rd. Look at the jet stream pattern. Look at how far back, almost close to Hawaii. So it's going to reach and it's going to grab all this moisture, and then it's going to slam it up against the terrain features of the West Coast. Here we are on the 21st, more of the same, focusing on many of the same areas. It's like a fire hose of moisture, just aimed at the West Coast, the high peaks and the volcanoes. There's the 23rd. And then some of it gets moved into the interior Rockies as well. Here's the 24th, continues wave after wave, 25, 26. And again, all of that just continues, and a lot of it moves into the interior states. Okay, let's talk about the forecast radar and the satellite. So by the time we get into Monday morning, here's the setup. You've got snow with this area of low pressure coming out of the Pacific Northwest into Nevada, Idaho, Montana, the Tetons, and then eventually into the Wasatch and then down into Colorado on the late on the 18th into the 19th. And then it's gone. Look at the size of the storm system on the 20th hitting the West Coast and the Pacific Northwest. It's a big storm system. It's just the start with that moderate intensity atmospheric river surge. Look at it hitting Tahoe up to Mammoth. Into Shasta rather. Shasta is going to be receiving some of the biggest numbers that I've got across the West because it's right in line with that fire hose. So initially it's Tahoe up to Shasta, then eventually, and watch the flow. And it is just heavy in many of the same areas over and over. And then eventually it does move down and affect Mammoth as well. But look at that overrun into parts of Idaho and Montana up to BC and even down into Banff. And then that starts to make its move into the interior. And this is what we see a couple of different times. Here comes another storm through California, moving into the Intermountain Rockies. Another storm system lined up by 26. So as far as accumulation, let me start in the Northeast. So in the Northeast, there is going to be a period of snow, but it's mainly going to be light. And it's mainly just for the highest of elevations here between the time period of 1118 and 1125. Uh, Obviously, Mount Washington stands out as getting the most snow, a foot or more, with the right push and the right wind. You could see that. Everybody else is pretty light through Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and New York, 1 to 4, 1 to 3 inches from most places. Now, out west, this is where the action is. And we'll start off along the West Coast because between 1120 and 1123, that's when we accumulate most of this. It's at least a couple of feet for Mammoth and Tahoe, and it's potentially feet, several feet for Shasta. Up and down the Cascades and the high volcanoes, 1 to 3 feet, through Whistler, Baker, Crystal, and then all the way down through Hood and Bachelor. And then some of that gets blown into the interior parts of BC, could be looking at a foot or more in some places. I mean, we're looking great in Idaho with a foot or more, northwest Montana. Look at the Tetons, firmly targeted. It looks like a couple of feet there, potentially a foot for Big Sky, and probably 6 to 10, 6 to 12, maybe 6 to 14 for parts of the Wasatch. In Colorado, a lot of it's targeting the central and northern mountains for the best accumulations there, and just lighter amounts in southern Colorado and northern New Mexico. So this is an exciting period. The first atmospheric river surge of the season looks to be moderate in intensity, and you can see the result. Guys, thanks for tuning in here to this On the Snow Before You Go forecast. Take care.